In today's fight breakdown, we have yet another perfect example as to just how great Jiu Jitsu is when it comes to self-defense.
Don't crack up in the tail down there.
Why are you still on him? Why are you stuck? Why are you stuck?
Hey, stop. He's on me. Get up. Go. Show him. Get up. Stop.
Alright, let it go.
Let him go.
Let him go, Cal.
Let him go. All right. Let him go. Off my shirt.
Alright, it's over with. Police right there, bro.
Stop. Grab him. Let him start. Let him go.
Now what we have here are two individuals outside of what appears to be a sports arena of some sort. They're going to start throwing some punches. The guy in the back here is your jiu-jitsu expert. I don't know what rank he is. I would guess he's at least a blue belt just based off of this video alone. He's got a very good understanding of what he should be doing on the ground, and he's got a very good top control game. So he knows what he's doing. He's got some experience. Again, I don't know how much. This other individual, no, he's got nothing. No grappling experience, let alone any fighting experience to begin with. Yes, I do understand the video sideways. It'll go vertical here in a moment. But what you're going to see is your bad guy is going to start throwing some wild haymaker punches. The jiu-jitsu guy is going to start appearing to block and shield. Essentially, he's just trying to close the distance, right? He's a grappler. He wants to get hands-on, and he's actually going to change levels a little bit, get a nice deep body lock, and he's going to look for a beautiful outside leg sweep and takes the guy down to the ground. So let's check it out. So punches are being thrown. Right here, again, it's a little bit blurry, but you can see both of his hands. He's starting to get a nice deep body lock around the guy's hips. Nice and deep. Again, he could honestly probably even finish with like a blast double at this point. But nope, what he's actually going to do is step, and as you can see here, he's got a nice deep hook on this guy's outside leg sweep, right? Deep hook on it. Now, this is a beautiful takedown. I love utilizing this one, both for self-defense when we're doing some self-defense training, but also for just sport, right? MMA, jiu-jitsu, it's a great way to take somebody down. Also, the inside leg sweep is also just as good, but this is deep. A lot of times when I do this, I'm guilty of this. I tend to go a little bit shallower, so I'll actually look to hook around my opponent's ankles or the heel a little bit. The problem with that is obviously if you're dealing with more experienced guys or if they catch on, a lot of times they can actually pick that leg up and just avoid it, but it's just kind of one of those quick sweeps. This is a very committed and a very deep sweep, and this guy has absolutely no chance of actually getting out of it. And if you look closely, it looks like the dude's foot's actually starting to weave inside and actually hook around the calf. So either way, this leg or this outside leg is secured. They are going to the ground. Beautiful sweep. And right away, we have our guy gets up on top and he gets into a good mount position. Now from here, this is where you can start telling just how knowledgeable this top guy is when it comes to jiu-jitsu. Again, I don't know what his belt rank is, but he understands his objectives when he's on top, right? When you get to a top mount position, doesn't matter for what, we want to look for a few things in order to control. I need to establish underhooks. Ideally, if I can get underhooks on both arms, great. If not, I want to at least establish underhooks on one side, and my other hand should be establishing a deep crossface of some sort. Again, that will prevent my opponent or bad guy from being able to bridge off their head to help post their hips. And then again, obviously getting the underhook or both underhooks will prevent them from being able to utilize their other hand for framing, for getting underhooks of their own, for wrestling up, anything along those sorts. In addition to that, you also have to start applying the proper pressure with your hips, meaning that out of the gate, if you catch somebody off guard or if you're dealing with somebody that's a little bit less experienced, they're going to be a fish out of water. They're going to be doing everything they can to get you out or to get out from underneath you, to get you off of them. So a lot of times when you first get into mount, instead of sinking down right into them right away, where a lot of times people will get reversed and swept by mistake, the moment you take them down, you actually want to start posting out with your hands. You want to arch up your head and start kind of bridging your back a little bit so that now I'm driving my hips down, and you're just going to chill there for a minute. And that's exactly what we're going to see here in a moment. The guy is going to start posting out with his hands, and as you can see here, he's got one hand, two hands both posted. He kind of has a little bit of an underhook right here. Not the deepest underhook, but he is starting to get it. But again, right now he's just kind of riding the wave. So he just essentially is posting out. You can see here that his head is up. He's not driving into the guy's chest or head yet. He's kind of bridging again. Think of like Ariel from The Little Mermaid, right? When she pops out of the water and she's posing up on the rock, right? I want my chest and my head up and I'm driving my hips down into the guy or your opponent, whoever's underneath you. And that's exactly what you're going to see here. You can see that he's bridging. Now, once he starts kind of getting a little bit more control, so you can see his bottom hand here starts to establish a crossface, and his left arm is now fully extended out as he now secures the deep underhook in this position. You'll start seeing here in a moment, if you watch closely, you're going to start seeing his back kind of divot a little bit more, and that's to indicate to you that he is in fact driving his hips down. Now he's got both legs cleared, which is great. He's in full mount. He's in great position. And understand this, if you didn't realize already, not a single punch was thrown by this guy. He did not have to hit or do any damage to the guy. He was able to get hands on. He was able to safely take him down to the ground while also maintaining control, get on top, and again, he's in complete control from the situation. You can see he's just hanging out. Again, now he's starting to kind of drive his pressure down a little bit more. You can see that there's less and less space here because, again, the more that you start establishing that mount control in that top position and the less that the person on bottom is squirming, you're going to slowly start cutting off all their ability to move. You're going to start cutting off their ability to establish frames. A lot of times that puts a lot of pressure on the stomach and the chest, so it makes it a little bit more difficult for the person on bottom to catch their breath, right? And I'm just driving all my weight down into you. That's exactly what this guy is doing. Again, beautiful display of jiu-jitsu here. One other side note, you'll notice that this guy kind of on and off posts his foot out here. A lot of times this is done if the guy in bottoms are really starting to kind of rock you. If your hands are occupied, meaning that I'm securing an underhook and I'm securing a crossface, you can post out with your feet to kind of drive your weight back in, and it just, again, keeps you in control of that top position. So as you can see here, now the guy on top is actually trying to get the guy on bottom off, so they are trying to separate. But this is also another thing that you can tell when somebody is inexperienced. When people are on bottom and they don't know what they do, instead of framing and pushing off, which is what you should be doing, people like to hold on and squeeze thinking that that's the answer. And really it's not. And you can see here, like, this guy's got a death grip on the back of his head. He's just trying to pull him down. This guy's actually utilizing a nice frame, or at least attempting to establish frames. Again, everyone just thinks like, oh, we can go 0 to 100 and I can frame and push off with their head. That's not the reality. I'm going to have to slowly work my elbow in there. I'm going to have to work up to my forearm. I'm going to have to work to my hand, and then we can start establishing our strong frames at this point. And right now, he's just trying to peel the guy off. Now, this is where things are going to start taking a turn. What you're going to see is the guy on top gets the guy, you know, they kind of split him up a little bit, but the guy on bottom is still holding on to his arms, so the guy on top is actually going to pass his arms through, and he's actually going to look to secure the back. This is the only moment where I have any complaints about this, but I'm going to show you what he should have done on the mat. But either way, let's break down what he did in this case before I show you what I would have done. So he starts framing, it's not working. You can see here the guy starts grabbing his wrist, so he realizes, okay, I'm going to pass this arm through. Now, if the guy's holding onto your hand and he's not letting it go, and he's essentially just kind of following wherever you move your arm, why not just pass it across? And now what that's doing is, if we slowly fast forward, it's forcing the guy in bottom to expose his back. And the moment that the guy in top gets his arm across, notice how he drops his weight behind the guy's shoulder. And for those that aren't experienced with this, what that prevents is for the guy in bottom to actually bring his arm back. So if the jiu-jitsu guy lets go of the arm, the guy in the bottom physically can't get his arm back because all your weight is behind my shoulder and tricep. I physically can't turn on my back. This is where I would have done something differently. I'm going to show you that out on the mats here in a moment, but nonetheless, let's break down what he did again. Guy in bottom starts going turtle. The guy on top realizes, like, oh shit, I'm riding too high, so he shifts his weight back. He establishes hooks. He immediately throws in a rear naked choke. It doesn't seem like he's cranking on. He's got tight enough pressure, but the guy in bottom isn't like struggling to breathe or anything. Like, he's chilling. His arms are out like, yep, okay, I give up, I surrender. You know, no harm, no foul. And then the police are going to come and take over control from there. But again, beautiful control from start to finish from this guy. And even when he does apply the choke, he's not ripping on it. He's obviously putting enough pressure to let the dude know, hey, I've got you. Just give up. And that's exactly what he did. But let's break down what I believe he should have done instead of taking the back in that position. Right? When he gets to the guy's back, yes, in jiu-jitsu sport competition, right, this is a great position to be in, and I don't really have to worry about other threats. As I mentioned, though, I'm in a very vulnerable position. I'm not in a good spot to defend myself. If somebody were to suddenly rush me, I now not only have to work on getting up to my feet, but I have to clear this person off on top of me, and they're probably not going to go as easily. So this is just a bad spot to end up, but it's not uncommon to end here. And again, if you're one that trains jiu-jitsu often, you might just come here out of habit, right? So if you find yourself in this position on the street, what I would have recommended that this guy does is, again, still establish a seatbelt, I wouldn't even gone for the choke it. I would have just had a tight seatbelt grip at this point. I would take my top leg, and I'm actually going to switch to a hook on the outside, so essentially like I'm doing a crab ride, right? Now what I'm going to do is essentially I'm trying to get his hips off and away from me so that I can start going belly down and coming up. So I have to take my bottom hook. I'm actually going to open up that foot. Again, you might get people that start kind of turning away from you, or if not, this allows me either way to start kind of freely tossing their hips. Either way, if I feel him start going, I'm gonna take this foot now and actually kind of just toss his hips a little bit. Now, a lot of these guys are gonna start trying to go belly down and trying to go up into turtle. So it's key that the moment I toss their hips, that I now take my hips and I shoot as far back as I can, and I stay belly down, and I just stay behind him at this point. Now again, I'm fully flattened out, but all my weight's down here on cash, and I'm just gonna suck him in nice and tight. So if he's trying to scramble, trying to work, I should be able to get him back onto his shoulders here. Then from here, I can pressure, I can work myself up. And then again, I can go right into the gift wrap position from here, work up into like a knee on side technical mount, and this is a much better position for me to be, or this guy in particular to be, if he was in that situation where again, I'm still in control, I'm still isolating him, but I can easily get back up to my feet. Now, if we rewind it even further, right, instead of taking the back initially, when this guy was initially grabbing his wrist, right, and he feeds the arm across this way, as I mentioned, this was a beautiful opportunity for this guy to get to a top mount into a gift wrap position rather than even taking the back to begin with. When you do this position, again, he does a nice job of dropping that chest pressure behind his arm so that even if I let go of this wrist, Cash isn't able to get that arm back. Secondly, I take that outside leg and I'm going to slide it up deep on his shoulder. Now, not only do I have his arm preventing from being able to go back, but I'm also preventing his back from turning as well. This is the key detail though. This foot has to now open up. I'm gonna take my heel, drive it all the way into the gut, and I'm gonna completely shift my body. So now my chest and stomach is behind his shoulder tricep. My hips are nice and tight. I'm pinching him, I'm sitting down. Again, he can't go belly down. He can't turn into me. And again, I can now gift wrap and I can control the position. So honestly, he could have gone here first before even looking to take the back mount, or as I mentioned, once you do get to the back mount, if you realize, oh shit, it's not the best spot to be in a street situation, then we immediately toss him and we work our way back up into this position. But when we're talking self-defense and street with grappling and jiu-jitsu, this is the type of position that I want to be in. I can access anything that I have on me. I can prevent him from accessing anything he has on him, but I'm also in a good spot that I can control him. I can throw strikes if I need to, and more importantly, I can completely disengage and we can get out of there safely. So there you have it. Yet another perfect example again of jiu-jitsu for self-defense. Great control. Really, there's not much to say. And again, even though he did end up on his back on the ground, which yes, puts him at risk for getting attacked if somebody else were to run in. Fortunately, that wasn't the case in this, and he was just fine how he was. But I mean, beautiful control. And again, if you understand grappling and jiu-jitsu, if you get your hands on somebody, you can just simply control them and hold them, especially if they have little to no experience, right? I should be able to just maintain top control with minimal damage. There's no need for me to break any bones, throw some punches or anything unless it absolutely comes to it. But I should be able to just hang out and wait for the proper authorities to arrive and take over the situation from there. So let this be a lesson to all of you. Get out there, get on the mats, and go train some jiu-jitsu. Stay safe.